Some things don't destroy your life all at once. They destroy it quietly, one small compromise at a time, one habit you tolerate, one relationship you keep, one burden you continue carrying because you've become used to its weight. Have you ever wondered why some people seem constantly drained, even when nothing appears to be wrong? Why they feel exhausted, distracted, restless, despite doing everything they were told would make them happy? Watch carefully, because the answer is rarely found in what they are missing. More often, it is hidden in what they refuse to remove. I am the Watcher, and here, in Shadow Insight, we explore the hidden mechanisms behind human behavior, the truths most people overlook, and the patterns that quietly shape our lives. Today, we will examine 10 things that many people continue carrying long after they have stopped serving them. Some of these may seem harmless, some may even feel necessary, but by the end of this video, you may discover that one of the greatest sources of suffering is not what enters your life. It's what you never had the courage to let go of. If this kind of psychological insight interests you, consider subscribing, leaving a like, and sharing your thoughts below. Now let's begin with the first thing most people hold on to far longer than they should. And the strange thing is, they often don't even realize they're carrying it. Most people imagine that major life problems arrive dramatically. A betrayal, a loss, a crisis. But human nature often works differently. What truly drains people is usually far less visible. It's what they tolerate every day. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to adapt to things that slowly make you miserable? A friend who constantly criticizes you, a family member who only calls when they need something, a routine that leaves you exhausted, an environment that quietly kills your motivation. At first, these things bother you. Then something strange happens. You adjust, you normalize them, you stop questioning them, and eventually you forget that life could feel different. Watch carefully. Many people are not suffering because of what happened to them. They are suffering because of what they continue allowing. A person complains for years about the same relationship, the same job, the same habit, the same emotional burden, yet nothing changes. Not because change is impossible, but because familiarity is powerful. Human beings often prefer familiar discomfort over unfamiliar freedom. The known pain feels safer than the unknown future. This is why people remain in situations they have already outgrown, not because they enjoy them, because they have learned to live around them. And over time, what should have been removed becomes part of their identity. The strange thing about people is that they rarely notice when something is slowly taking energy from them. They only notice when the damage becomes impossible to ignore. A tree does not fall the moment it begins to rot. The decay happens quietly, invisible at first. Life works the same way. Every unnecessary obligation, every toxic interaction, every resentment you continue carrying, every habit that no longer serves you, they all demand payment. Not immediately, but eventually. And the longer something remains in your life, the more normal it begins to feel. That is what makes it dangerous. Because the first things you should quietly remove are often not the obvious enemies. They are the invisible drains, the small leaks that steal your peace one day at a time. And most people never realize how much they are losing until those leaks are finally gone. If something causes suffering, logic suggests we should remove it. Yet people rarely do. Why? Because human beings are not guided by logic as much as they like to believe. They are guided by attachment. Have you ever wondered why someone continues returning to the same painful situation, even after recognizing the damage it causes? The answer is often hidden beneath awareness. People do not merely become attached to what makes them happy, they become attached to what feels familiar. Jung believed that much of human behavior is influenced by forces people barely understand within themselves. Patterns, fears, unresolved emotions, invisible loyalties to old versions of who they once were. This is why letting go can feel strangely threatening, even when what you're holding on to is hurting you. A toxic friendship may provide a sense of belonging. A destructive habit may provide temporary comfort. A draining relationship may provide emotional certainty. The suffering becomes predictable, and predictable suffering often feels safer than uncertainty. Watch carefully. The human mind has a remarkable ability to justify what it fears losing. People tell themselves, "It's not that bad. Things will change. I can handle it. They didn't mean it. I've already invested too much. These explanations often sound rational, but beneath them lies something deeper: fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of regret, fear of starting over, fear of discovering that the thing you fought to keep was never worth keeping at all. The strange thing about people is that they often confuse attachment with value. Just because something has been part of your life for years does not mean it deserves to remain there. Time alone does not create worth. Yet many people continue carrying burdens simply because they have carried them for a long time. They mistake duration for importance, history for necessity, comfort for truth, and slowly their lives become crowded. Crowded with obligations, crowded with distractions, crowded with people who no longer belong in the story they are trying to write. This is why removing something is often harder than acquiring something. Anyone can add, few can subtract. Anyone can accumulate, few can release. But human nature always reveals itself eventually, because the moment you begin removing what no longer serves you, you discover how much of your energy was being spent protecting things that should have been let go long ago. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Very few things remain in your life by accident. Most stay because in some way they serve a hidden purpose, even when they hurt you. Have you ever noticed how some people complain endlessly about certain situations but never leave them? They talk about the stress, the disappointment, the frustration, year after year, yet the situation remains exactly the same. Why? Because beneath every visible problem, there is often an invisible exchange, a cost, and a reward. The reward may not be obvious, but it exists. A person may remain in a toxic relationship because it protects them from loneliness. Someone may cling to constant drama because it gives their life excitement. Another may hold on to resentment because it provides a sense of moral superiority. Watch carefully. People rarely defend what benefits them openly. They defend it indirectly. They defend it with excuses, with rationalizations, with stories. This is where Nietzsche's observations become difficult to ignore. He believed that people often create narratives that allow them to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths about themselves. Not because they are dishonest, but because self-deception is easier than self-confrontation. And nowhere is this more visible than in the things people refuse to remove from their lives. The strange thing about people is that they often fear freedom more than limitation, because freedom comes with responsibility. The moment you remove the wrong relationship, you can no longer blame that relationship for your unhappiness. The moment you remove the bad habit, you lose the excuse that habit once provided. The moment you remove the constant distractions, you are left alone with your own thoughts. And that is where many people become uncomfortable, because silence reveals things noise can hide. This is why some of the most damaging things in life survive for so long, not because they are powerful, but because they help people avoid something deeper: a truth, a fear, a responsibility, a decision. Human nature always reveals itself eventually, and when you look closely enough, you begin to see that the greatest burden is often not the thing itself. It is the hidden psychological contract you made with it. The agreement that says, I will tolerate this as long as it protects me from facing something else. Most people never notice that contract, but it quietly shapes their entire lives. And until it is broken, nothing truly changes. Now comes the part most people never expect. Removing the wrong things from your life does not immediately feel good. In fact, it often feels worse before it feels better. Have you ever wondered why? Because when something has occupied space in your life for years, its absence creates a void, and human beings are naturally uncomfortable with emptiness. Watch carefully. Many people imagine that peace arrives the moment they eliminate what is hurting them. But peace is not the first thing that appears. Silence is, and silence can be unsettling. The friend who constantly demanded your attention is gone. The habit that distracted you every evening is gone. The need to prove yourself to certain people is gone. For a moment, life feels strangely unfamiliar, almost too quiet. This is where many people make a mistake. They rush to fill the empty space. A new distraction, a new conflict, a new dependency, a new source of validation. Anything to avoid sitting with themselves. But human nature works differently. Growth often begins in the spaces that feel empty. The strange thing about people is that they spend years trying to add more to their lives, when what they actually need is less. Less noise, less drama, less comparison, less resentment, less emotional debt. With time, you begin to notice something remarkable. The things you remove do not simply disappear, they reveal what was hidden underneath. A toxic relationship reveals your fear of being alone. Constant busyness reveals your fear of stillness. The need for approval reveals your fear of rejection. And this is the revelation most people never reach. The real purpose of removing something is not to change your environment. It is to expose yourself, to see clearly, to understand which invisible forces have been guiding your decisions all along. Because the 10 things you should quietly remove from your life are not merely external. Some are habits, some are beliefs, some are expectations, some are versions of yourself that no longer belong to who you are becoming. And the moment you stop protecting them, you begin to recover something that many people spend their entire lives searching for: clarity. Not the clarity that comes from acquiring more, the clarity that comes from finally seeing what needs to leave. And once you see it, it becomes impossible to unsee. So, what have we discovered today? We often believe that progress comes from adding more to our lives: more opportunities, more possessions, more relationships, more achievements. But human nature reveals a different truth. Sometimes the greatest transformation begins with removal. The things that quietly drain your energy are rarely dramatic enough to demand attention. They accumulate slowly. A habit here, a resentment there, a relationship that no longer serves you, a need for approval you never questioned, an expectation you continue carrying long after it has stopped helping you. And over time, these invisible burdens become part of your reality, until one day, you no longer remember what life felt like without them. The hidden mechanism we promise to reveal is this: most people are not held back by what they lack. They are held back by what they refuse to release. That is why letting go feels so difficult. You are not only removing something from your life, you are removing a part of the identity that learned to depend on it. And yet, this is where true freedom begins. Not when everything around you changes, but when you stop carrying what no longer belongs to you. Watch carefully. The next few days may reveal something unexpected. You may start noticing certain patterns, certain people, certain habits, certain thoughts that have been occupying space in your life for far too long. And when you notice them, ask yourself a simple question: are they helping me grow, or have I simply become accustomed to their presence? If this video made you reflect, share your thoughts in the comments. What is one thing you believe people should quietly remove from their lives? And if you enjoy exploring the hidden mechanisms behind human behavior, subscribe to Shadow Insight and join us for future observations. I am the Watcher, and remember, if the things that are holding you back disappeared tomorrow, who would you become without them?